Hello everybody and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo, where we're continuing where we left off with Rin. I kinda like Rin. I'm gonna try to end up with her. If that's I've never tried to get with her. I don't know how to get with her, so we'll see what happens. So let's continue. As I walk to the back of the room to pick up the items on Misha's list, a chance opens to study Rin from the corner of my eye. Her hair is a burnt auburn, almost orange, and cropped short. Long hair would probably be impossible with no arms. The boy's uniform and the lack of arms make her look very thin, almost scrawny. She is not particularly pretty, except for her murky green eyes, which flicker restlessly from below her short bangs, even when she eats. The distance and the shadows make it seem like they don't reflect sunlight at all, but instead absorb all of within them with like deep wells. God, I suck at reading. She moves her feet almost as deftly as a normal person would with their arms. However, I can see how this sight could discomfort people, especially while eating. It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, at least. I hesitate to think about the word unnatural, but it's too late now, isn't it? I keep searching the cabins and shelves for Misha's things, but after enough time passes, the silence grows too uncomfortable, so I try to force some conversation out of this strange girl. So, do you always eat alone and this late? Or do you have an occasional visitor? Visitors? Maybe you are the first occasional visitor, but I don't always eat alone either. Sometimes I eat with a certain person on the roof, if she's not horsing around. Horsing? She likes to do sports. Huh. And that's all I could think of to say. Both of us fall silent again as Rin forks the last bits of her meal to her mouth. I look down at my haul and double-check it with Misha's list. It seems I have everything except plywood. So I think I have all the things now. That's very nice of you. Don't feel obliged to stay. I was about to take a nap anyway. You need to do whatever you are doing. Wait. You need to do whatever you are going to do with the stuff anyway, right? Or perhaps you like to watch girls sleeping. I'm not sure what to think of this, but Ren looks serious. Even if I did, I think I'd have to be going. I'll catch you around, Tezuka. You can call me Ren. I feel that our relationship is at a good enough point to warrant this much. I was already turning to make an exit, but she draws me back in. Fine, then I'm Hasao. Then you are? Rin looks at me hard in the eye. Rin looks at me hard in the eyes, but that intimidating feeling you get when someone stares at you isn't there. It's like she actually is not looking at me at all. She blinks a couple of times, and I can't figure out why a pause like this would have popped between us out of nowhere. See you later, Sal. There's something like a tiny smile there in her face, maybe. I quietly back out of the room as I shut the door in front of my face. I whisper to myself, what an intriguing person. From inside, I hear a muffled sing-song voice. I heard that. What did she hear? I jump at the sudden appearance of Misha, who I had heard approaching despite the completely empty hallways. Somehow she had gotten to jumping distance of me without making a sound. Creepy. It briefly reminds me of Kenji's nutty theory about global feminist conspiracies, but I pushed that thought aside. Shizune, standing slightly behind Misha, looks aloof as she couldn't have heard the remark that drew Misha's attention. But Misha is visibly excited. No, wait, more importantly, who is in there? There's no club meeting today. She tries to curiously peek past me, even though the door prevents her from seeing anyway. What are you doing here? You took so long that we had to come check what's wrong. That's not good, Chan. She wags her finger at me scoldingly. Get your finger out my face. I found plywood, but everything else is still missing because you are tardy. Oh, sorry, I got the things here. Was just going to bring them. I think you're up to some mischief, Hichan. Who was in there with you? I wondered. Misha signed something quickly to Shizune, pointing at her own ear a couple of times. Shizune immediately pushes her way past me and opens the door into the classroom I just left. I can only imagine the shock she is experiencing. With Shizune's diligence and attitude, the insolence of daring to deface school property by sleeping on top of it must be too much to bear. And indeed, she stares at Rin, frozen in place, apart from the slight but noticeable trembling of her shoulders. From suppressed rage, I'm sure. Instead of blowing up, Shizune just takes a few deep breaths, adjusts her glasses, and slams the door shut, turning to sigh furiously at Misha. Maybe she did blow up, but I can't understand it. She shoots a very loaded stare at me. 2. As if it was somehow my fault that Rin is sleeping on one of the tables. I hope she's not getting any funny ideas about the reason of my tardiness. Hello? Ren's voice comes from the other side of the door, and it takes a few eye blinks to realize she might have trouble opening it. I open the door to find Ren directly behind it, looking at us with a half-interested, half-sleepy face. Hello? Miss Tezuka, what do you think you are doing? You absolutely are not permitted to use school property for such disgraceful activity. It sure is suddenly very crowded in here. I didn't know I was this popular. It's hard to say whether she's happy or unhappy about the turn of events. At any rate, she ignores Shizune / Misha's scolding, as I have no choice but to drop the issue. Shizune taps Misha's shoulder and points at Ren and makes some quick signs. Popularity aside, please don't do that anymore. Anyway, how's your project going? Will it be done for the festival? Ren looks at them blankly, apparently at ease under the pressure Shizune's cold stare is putting on her. I keep wondering about that myself too. And? We'll think about it harder. As Misha signs her reply to Shizune, her face turns into an unsatisfied frown. Miss Tezuka, please try to take this seriously. It'll be a disaster if the wall looks like someone threw up their lunch onto it. Red nods assertively. We'll think more seriously. Misha actively giggles at that, but Shizune doesn't. Not even after translation. She just shakes her hand, takes the materials from me, and takes off with Misha in tow. Rin frowns thoughtfully as she looks after the retreating student council duo. How wooed. It's true though, I must finish my project before the weekend. There will be dire consequences if I don't. The end of the world as we know it. Like weekends usually are, but more dire. Much more dire. Maybe I'll postpone my nap to unforeseen future. I'm about to ask what project she has, and what are these apocalyptic of consequences. But she walks back into the art classroom. Since you have nothing to do, would you give me a hand? This paint can't fit into my bag, but I need it. She kicks slightly at a huge can of paint and is lying on the floor next to the table she was sitting and sleeping on. It lets out a dull clang. But the gentleman I am, I naturally pick it up. Heavy. Yeah, sure. Where do you need to take it? Away. And with that, she takes off to the hallway, me and the paint can following since there's little choice for either of us. The hallway is quiet and empty with Shizune and Mish gone, so we too leave towards the stairwell at the other end. Every 10 or 15 steps, I have to change the can from one hand to another because the thin handle cuts into my palm. At least it keeps my arms from tiring too fast. Rin strolls on beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble matching. Or maybe I am walking weird because of the extra weight. It seems one of us is constantly walking too slow or too fast, and I can't figure out which. 2 flights of stairs below, trouble appeared in the form of the head nurse and his fox-like grin. Ah, Mr. Nakai, what a happy coincidence. Tezuka too, of course. He nods courteously to Rin, who does not acknowledge him back, then turns to me, because obviously it's me who he had business with. There's something I forgot to mention on Monday. I nod and wait impassively because I don't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delving deeper into my skin doesn't make me feel enthusiastic about the interruption either. It's about your medication. Since you haven't been that long on your current medication, you might be some unexpected side effects, which might require adjusting dosages or even changing to another kind of medicine. So we will do a few tests regularly, but what I want you is to keep an eye on everything in your condition that feels off, if you get what I mean. Nausea, headaches, anything. And come see me if something happens. Alright. So how are you? Everything fine? I give up and drop the can on the floor before answering him. Apparently this takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something generic as an answer, but then I realize how often I've done that lately. Other people have asked me that too. Teachers and students here, my parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the hospital. Everyone seems to be concerned about that. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school. Except this school. This is a small school, and both the student base and the faculty seem very tightly knit. At least that's what the feeling I'm getting. And this is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. The thought sends shivers up my spine, and I give a generic answer anyway. That's great. Also, one other thing. My sources tell me that you have been at neither the school track nor even the pool, so I'd like to know if you had been taking up exercising as I asked. Of course I haven't, but his way of inquiring gives me the feeling that I should have been running my ass off on the track since the very first day. You have been spying on me? Not as such, I just happen to know a few people. But that's not the issue here, so don't try to slip out of it. Well, I was actually just doing some improvised weightlifting as an exercise. I pick up and lift the can up and down a few times like the sad imitation of a bodybuilder, even though it's weighing down on my arms painfully. The stupid grin disappears from his face for a second. Then he comes back, like it was never gone. Tezuka, would you give us a second? The nurse grabs me by the shoulder without waiting for Rin's permission, which he didn't need in the first place, and drags me aside. When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand that you are still on your first week and all, but please don't ignore the importance of this. The reason I'm coming down this hard on you is that the habits are not easy to form. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it will be. It's the same with everything, like dieting. Can you promise me you'll be more serious from about this from now on? Yeah. Yeah, I promise, definitely. He studies me for a moment and then shrugs, smiling. Okay, that's more like it. If you go to the school track tomorrow morning, you'll meet my spy, who probably has some qualm offering consulting to you if you want to jog a bit. Consulting? Consulting. See you around. He leaves with a wave of his hand and no answer, and I walk to Rin, who has been waiting idly, leaning against the hallway wall, and staring at the pale lighting fixtures in the ceiling. Even when I approach, she doesn't move her eyes off them. Are you getting medication for your heart thingy? Were you listening? It comes out more accusatory than I intended, accidentally lashing out at her. And even so, I don't really want to start talking about it. I just met her. I don't know her. It's not her business. The nurse seems to be happily ignorant about confidentiality, too. Talking about that kind of thing in public. But it's not Ren's fault, is it? I look up at her, suddenly feeling a bit guilty. But Ren is just staring past my shoulders. What the heck was that? Quizzically. Her head tilted like a bird. I don't know why this is so hard for me. It feels like there is some inexplicable lock that prevents me from being more upfront about this. Yeah, they're from my heart. Will they make you better? No, not really. They just make me a little less worse. Rin keeps looking at me for a little longer, and she neither says anything further, nor displays any kind of emotion I could discern. I'm thankful that she doesn't. I think I'm still not quite used to all this. At this hospital it was easy, but I still haven't sorted my feelings about having to live a normal life with this disability. We leave the main building and Rin leads us onwards towards the dorm. We stop at the small patch of greenery in front of the dorm building. The dorm is built slightly elevated ground with a wall of a few trees that everyone has a circle around every time they come or go. It's probably the only inconvenient design in the school. The entire wall, made up of some kind of brick, as the building itself, has been covered with some sort of painting. Most of it is still mere sketches, quick lines drawn with black and white against a gray plastering that covers almost the entire length of the wall, but some places which look a bit more unfinished, or look more finished. There are human faces and legs and hands. I can't quite say that the painting as much whole. Wait, I can't quite say what the painting as a whole might portray. Stacks of what seem to be paint cans are arranged in piles on the ground, beside the wall. See, the left side is hardly off the ground yet. It's because I couldn't get in the mood yesterday, so I gave up and went to meditate instead. Then it was suddenly morning. I have to work on it, but the guys from the art class are helping with the negative spaces and base surfaces, which is the problem. It's easier to paint big areas if there's a lot of people with hands. The reach is better, and it's faster too. She goes on a tangent, waving a little with her arm, or whatever of it there actually is, to demonstrate even though I got the point already. The white cotton of her sleeve flaps around, and it makes me think it could look sadder than it does. But it makes me feel out of place, like almost every tangible reminder of the school's bases. Special properties has its own past few days. What? That didn't make sense. This girl doesn't notice my dreary feelings, of course, or the fact that she lost me a while ago already, and just keeps on blabbering. So that's why I'm trying to figure out if there is something I need to figure out, and then figure that out before it's too late and all hope is lost. Why would the hope be lost? Because paint has to be painted, and then it has to dry, and then it has to be painted over with another kind of paint. It takes time. She finally stops, apparently thinking she made some kind of statement that makes sense. I think it's the best start for the top. So this is your project? You did this? Yes, yes. All of it? Yes. Nice, but I stumbled with the word, suddenly feeling like I walked straight into a minefield of political incorrectness. Oh, was it political? It's okay, you can say it. I probably won't get mad. I blush really hard. I don't really know what would be the right thing to say, if any. It feels that I'm way too sensitive than Rin is, though. This is really awkward. Don't you want to ask? How do you paint without hands? See, it was an easy person. I'm an easy person to talk to, right? With my feet. Oh, look how cute she is. I like her. And with that face, I think it's a good time to stop. Well, we'll continue this in a little bit. So, see you guys later.